Hey, what's going on, guys? So today is a very awesome day for me. I finally got a modded N64. I've been wanting to do the RGB mod for a long time, and while I was waiting for this mod to happen, my good friend was working on it for me, I learned something very interesting. So you know how the N64 has a little bit of the fog, right? To kind of stop the loading times, to mess up, keep things from messing up, keep it clean. Well, also, a lot of games, actually pretty much every game, they typed in a code to purposefully kind of blur the game a bit to make it look, a lot smoother in a way. Well, when they did that, they didn't have RGB in mind because, like, you're only supposed to be using, aux out or composite out. So when you start using component, all of a sudden you can see all these little things. That said, I learned a neat trick where apparently a great group of people have set up an entire list of codes for the Gameshark to get rid of basically the blur. So there are a whole list of de-blur codes to use on a Gameshark. I'm gonna have the list linked down below, but I'm gonna show you what all this means, what this looks like. We're gonna take a couple games, gonna slam them into this guy. I'm gonna show you how to type in the code in here and save it and apply it. It's very easy. I will say that from what I've read, you need a Gameshark like 3.1 or higher to handle everything. I don't know how true that is, but this is a Gameshark 3.2, and you can tell that because there's a little sticker on there. So I'm going to show you how to use this. I'm going to show you a regular 64, what you're used to seeing. I'm going to show you what the RGB did, and I'm going to show you what the de-blur did. So we have obviously some ground to cover, so let's get going. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually getting the Gameshark to work with your games. If you're like me and you plugged in Zelda and you wondered why is Zelda not working at all, nothing's turning on at all, I had to look it up and figure out that certain games actually require key codes and certain games don't. So I popped in a Mario Kart game which did not require a key code. You go down to key codes, you switch it over to Zelda, and then you go through and it gives you basically the ability to turn it off, swap it out for Zelda, you turn it on, and then it works, and then you can start typing in the stuff. This only happens for a few games like Zelda, Donkey Kong. The list is kind of actually built into this key code section. But I will, once you get in there, then you can type in the codes. So the first thing I like to do is turn off all of the codes that are on by default because, I'm not trying to break the game with cheats, even though that's the primary use of this device. But then I like to go in and make my own code. Now from here you can name it whatever you want. I like to name the code de-blur because that's what it's doing. You can name it whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. But remember, with Zelda, just like you had to switch over the key code to turn this thing on, you also have to leave the M code, which must always be on to even use it to play the game. So make sure that that code is on, and when we're done, the de-blur code is on. And from there, it is as simple as basically typing in the code from the link down below. Just find the game you're looking for and type it in. It's not really hard, it's just a little time consuming, but once you do that, it's very easy. You can just save the code, exit and save, and then back all the way back out to the main screen, start the game, and then start the game with the code applied, and you're good to go. So I don't actually have a comparison shot for this. I wish I did, but you will get to see this with Mario Kart because I have taken every version of Mario Kart you can imagine for this video. But I did just want to show that, Zelda with the RGB mod and the clearing up does look very, very nice. You don't realize how dated things look until you really have something to compare to. So right now you're looking at Zelda, it probably looks like the way you remember, but I'm gonna show you how wrong you are with Mario Kart. So let's go ahead and start with that. So I'm gonna give you a baseline. Here is Mario Kart running through just straight up composite. The red, white, yellow that we're all used to growing up. It just looks way blurrier than I remember, and I'm sure it looks blurrier than you remember. But I'm gonna kind of let this run just a little while because it's such a good difference that you really gotta kind of acclimate your eyes to what this is Once again, you know, I just feel like when I was younger, this stuff looks better. And I will say it does look a little better on a CRT. I mean, I am, you know, running this through to turn it into HDMI. But you're gonna see here in a second what just the RGB mod by itself does. So now this is the RGB mod version, and as you can already tell, it looks better. I mean, that's the whole point of modding your console, is to make things look good. And I'll even say that my personal CRT has a component in, and it looks even better there. And you know, my HD TV also has a component in, and it looks pretty good on there as well. It's never gonna look as good as it does on the CRT though. I mean, the CRT just is super duper duper sharp. But so this is what a modded console basically looks like in comparison to what you saw was kind of stock. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like after plugging in the Gameshark and typing in the deblur code. And now this is Mario Kart running with the deblur code in, and you know, like I said, the Gameshark was like 20 bucks, and it makes a difference. It does make more of a difference on different games, I will say that, but I mean, it does make a difference. It's really cool that you know, you can modify the console to kind of get around the resolution that it was, you know, contained to, and then you can now use a Gameshark to get rid of some of the tricks the developers had to do to make the game look good at a lower resolution, to make it look better on a higher resolution. To me, that's amazing. But I don't know, it's a really simple fix, and it's a really, you know, cheap way of doing it, in my opinion. But here, last but not least, I'm just gonna put them side by side. So we have the regular RGB on the left and the smoothed out version on the right, just so you can see them side by side running. You know, it's, once again, you're gonna get different results for different games. Games that are like Zelda and stuff look probably even better than this. But you know, it's not too time consuming, and once you type in the codes, they save to the Gameshark, so you only have to do it the one time. Like I said, the whole list is down below. But you know, this is a really cool, very easy thing to do. You can actually do this, I guess, if you were like to run this through maybe a FrameMeister or something, even with the composite, and it should help there too. But you know, I think if you have an RGB modded console, this is definitely the way to go. So, like I said, amazing. It makes a huge difference in Zelda, but just in general, games look great. If you don't mind having like the Tower of Power stacked up on your 64, well worth your time. Obviously, with the RGB mod, it looks very beautiful. I will say that, you know, you can get the same effect with the Ultra HDMI mod, but for my setup personally, I like to have component out because I have a really nice component switch and a very good CRT that has a component input. So HDMI does not really suit my needs. But you know, once again, the HDMI mod's also way more expensive than an RGB mod and a Gameshark. So, you know, half a dozen of one, six of the other, however that old saying works. But hey, what do you guys think? Do you think this was a pretty big difference? Do you think this is something that you might want to do on your own systems? Let me know in the comments down below, because I personally thought this was really cool. I mean, the Gameshark was like 20 bucks, so like it was neat, and the mod was pretty inexpensive as well, like around like the 50 area. You know, you gotta find your own people to do it. But you know, hey, like I said, tell me what you guys think. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. This has been a very awesome time. As of recording this, I think I'm 3 subscribers away from 4,000, so maybe I'm there by the time you're watching this, and if not, then maybe you're going to be the one to get me there. And as always, my friends, take it easy.